All right, welcome to One Variable Statistics with Python. We're going to start with Lesson 0, Python Basics. So when you buy this, there will be the lesson plan, the Python notebook. So in here, I'm going to go to the overall lesson. In this lesson, we are going to go through creating folders in your Google Drives and using Google Colaboratory. So first, when you go to your Google Drive here, I would create a new folder. So if you go create new folder, and then I called my new folder one variable stats with Python. And then within that folder, so that was here, I put in a new one for lesson 0. So then what I would do is just put all those files in your new folder that you created. So now what I'm going to do is look at some of the things here that I just went through. So one, create a new folder, open your lesson. The next thing that you're going to need to do is create a new Google Colaboratory. So from your main Drive screen, you're going to need to go to New, click More. Now on here, when you first do it, you're going to have to connect more apps, and you're going to need to look for Colaboratory. So on here in Google Workplace Marketplace, you just type in Colaboratory, click on this, and then when you're on it for the first time, you would just install it. Now I'm going to just open up the file and kind of go through it step by step. What I would recommend if you do this for students is that you just open this, print it out, and then give them a copy to put in themselves. So they would just click, you would click File, Print, print out some for the students and have them do this on their own. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is actually mount your Google Drive. What this does, if you look at here, just a couple basic things about the notebooks. So first, you can create a cell right here that is a text cell. So I put lesson 0 Python Basics. Task 1 is going to be mounting your drive. So I did a text cell and put that in. And you can put these in bold. You can, there's different things that you can do with each of them. So to bold something like this, let me show you how to do that. So I'm going to add lesson 0 Python Basics. So I would hit Shift and then 8 twice, star, star. Then lesson 0 or Python Basics, and hit star star again. Then if you notice, that did the same thing that I just had there. I'm going to delete that. So now the first thing you need to do is mount your drive. So you put from google.colab, import your drive, and then on the next line you put drive.mount, and then parenthesis, and then a single quote, and then content drive. So when you put in your like single quote or your apostrophe there, make sure to do that. Then you need to run the cell to mount your drive. You will have to click through some permissions to do this. So it is, I'm putting in my Google account. I'm allowing that to happen. And then we're going to look at some tasks that Python can do. So Python can add, divide, multiply, take numbers to powers, and do some complex math. So if you look here, we are at task 2. We're going to do these problems: 50 plus 5, 16 divided by 9, 20 times 17.8, and 3 to the 5th power. So to do 50 plus 5, you just type in 50 plus 5, run the cell, and it'll give you 55. 16 divided by 9, you just type that in, gives you 1.7 repeating. To do multiplying, you press Shift star, so 20.1 times 17.8, and then 3 to the 5th power, it's 243. Now to do 5 minus 2 in parentheses times 5 minus 2 to the 5th, first you would do 5 minus 2 in parentheses, but then to evaluate 5 minus 2 to the 5th, you do 5 minus 2 in parentheses and then to the 5th power, and then multiply those two things. Now you do need to put a multiplication between the two parentheses. So that's called syntax. That is important. I'll show you what a syntax error would be if I didn't have that star there to tell the computer program to do it. So it says perhaps you miss a comma, something's going on there. It doesn't know to multiply these two things unless you explicitly put that in. So now create some of your own math problems and do them. So check maybe with a calculator, is there something unique that you need to type in there? Just play with it a little bit. So what we're going to do now is look at how to put a list of numbers in there. So Python is an object-oriented computer program. So what I mean by that is we're going to put this numeric list in there. So we put brackets, put in the list separated by commas, and we're going to call that object Falcon. So in here I put in Falcon equals, and then that's how I assign this list of numbers to the object, which is called Falcon. Now what I'm going to do is import a library here. So this is called the NumPy library, and I'm going to import the NumPy library as NP. And anytime I want to call a function in the NumPy library, I go np.array of Falcon. And what this does is just turns this list of numbers into a NumPy array, which is going to be important for calling math functions on it. So if I wanted to do Falcon plus 5, what it's going to do is go to that array or list of numbers and add 5 to each of them. So on here I do Falcon plus 5. Then what if I do Falcons minus 5? Well, if you notice, it says Falcons is not defined. Really, I need to go back in here and put in, well, that should be Falcon minus 5, and then Python can do it. I'm going to intentionally put the error back to let you look at some of that debugging a program when something isn't right. Now in here, this is Falcon plus, and then there's a lot of white space there. So there is a lot of space there. And if you notice, Python didn't have any problem dealing with that space. Sometimes in some computer programs will not allow you to have that space. Then similarly, we can do Falcon minus 2.5. Falcons divided by 2, well, again, we don't have an object called Falcons, so Python can't do it. But if I did Falcon divided by 2, that would take each element of that array and divide it by 2. Or if I wanted to do each object to the second power, I can go Falcon star star 2. And then if I wanted to sort them, like that's really cool. If I wanted to sort them from least to greatest, you can go np.sort of Falcon and put them in order. And then if you look, if I did the type of Falcon, it's a NumPy array. Now the next thing that we're going to do for the next task is look at, well, what if I had character information? So we're going to put in here Falcons are and then the best. So the object is going to be the best, and then that's going to equal Falcons are. I work for East Kentwood High School, and we're called the Falcons, so that's a school pride thing. You can change that if you'd like to your school mascot. And then here, if I go to what's the type of the best? Well, it's a list. Again, one thing that I can do, if I wanted to see the best, in this notebook, you can type in the best, and it'll just print it out for you. If you were working with regular Python, you would have to put print of the best. So you'd have to call the print function. And then lowercase on the print function to do that. So it works a little bit different depending on if you're using a notebook or if you're using a regular version of Python. So the type is a list. Now what this can do, if I wanted to find the 8th element of the list, Python starts counting from 0. So this is a 0 element, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if I actually wanted the 8th thing in the list, this would be, if we were counting naturally, we'd start from 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we want it to be the 8th element. So in order to do that in Python, we have to just subtract 1 from that. So we'd go the best of bracket 7 would tell us actually the 8th element is going to be the best of 7 because Python starts counting from 0. So if I was going to find the 1st, 6th, and 9th element, what you would do here, just to give you a little preview, type in the code, and the 1st element, remember, we go the best of, and we would just put in 0. And then for the sixth element, remember that would be, we subtract 1 from it, so we go to the best of 5, and so on. So I'm going to take those out. And then on here, here's some practice problems. You're just going to do the math yourself. And then here again, you did a list of numbers, and we call them EKHS for East Kentwood High School. And then we converted it to a NumPy array. You're going to add and subtract some things. You're going to sort them. Now we've done percentiles, so you've worked with those a little bit. If we've talked about the minimum, that'd be the 0 percentile. The maximum is the 100th percentile. So in a NumPy array, I'm gonna have to go through here and make sure that I import this NumPy array and call it that. So I have to go through and run these cells, otherwise it won't know what's going on. So I called EKHS, and now I can go in here and use a percentile function, which is kind of cool because I can find the minimum element, which is -12. And then I can go and find the 25th percentile, or the first quartile, which is where the 25th percentile of the data is. The median is the 50th percentile, so you go np.percentile of EKHS and put in 50. The 75th percentile is Q3, or the third quarter of the data. You go np.percentile of EKHS, and then the maximum is the 100th percentile. Now there's a different way to do this. So besides the NumPy library, there's also what's called the pandas library. So you just import pandas as PD. Typically you actually import all of your libraries at the top of your code. So in the future lessons we'll do that. Now in order to use the pandas library, I need a pandas data frame. So I go EKHS is going to be a pandas data frame. So I go PD to call the pandas library of data frame of EKHS. And then the cool part, to get all those descriptive statistics, I just take my EKHS data frame and then I put .describe, and it will give me the descriptive statistics here. So it tells me there are 7 numbers in there. The mean of them is 16.64. Standard deviation is 28.71, and then it gives me my 5-number summary: the minimum, first quartile, median, third quartile, and maximum. So that is kind of an overview of Python and lesson 0 of Python Basics.